Lux is an overpowered prince who destroys his own country for revenge. Now banished and in hiding, his life changes when he joins an all-girls academy, where he rises up the princess of the new empire with his big black sword. It all starts when Lux pretends to be a hidden leaf ninja by running on rooftops, but his footing breaks, and he falls into a woman's bath on top of a girl named Lysa. Enraged, she tells him to say his final prayers, but Lux tries to calm him down by complimenting her chug jugs. This action lands him in prison, where a girl visits him and asks about his mysterious big black sword. Before he can answer, another girl arrives to take him to the headmaster Riley's office. There, Riley addresses him as the prince of the old empire and forgives him for the earlier incident. She also explains that the new empire has built this academy to train females strong enough to wield futuristic weapons called drag knights. Despite it being an all-girls school, she wants Lux to work here as a handyman because male knights like him are a valuable asset. Just then, Lysa barges in with a bunch of other girls, disapproving of Riley's decision to employ a diddler in their academy. With others supporting Lysa's protest, Riley permits them to punish Lux however they see fit. Immediately, she challenges him to a duel so he can prove himself worthy of being a drag knight, and the girls cheer for Lysa because she's one of the strongest in the academy. However, Riley tells them not to take Lux lightly because he's a raid boss with plot armor who has never lost a duel. Hearing this, Lysa says she will accept him into the academy if he beats her, but if he loses, she'll castrate him and pop his coconuts.
Oh, hell no!
Later, Lux gets scolded by his sister Ayuri, who tells him that the girl he messed with is the princess of the new empire. She adds that the new empire hates their family because of politics and is making them pay a huge debt in exchange for a royal pardon, so he must defeat Lysa or they'll both land in jail. After that, Lux heads to the battle arena, where he's met with loud boos. He pulls out his white sword that allows him to summon his weak drag knight called Wyvern. In response, Lysa summons her divine drag knight called Tiamat, which is better than his wyvern in every single way. With that, the battle starts and Lysa immediately starts firing at Lux. He dodges her attacks and tries to close the distance, but Lysa hits him with a strong attack that does massive damage to his wyvern. As she mocks him for being weak, Lux asks her what they'll do if their match ends in a tie, admitting that he feels sorry for what happened in the bath. However, Lysa gets pissed because she thinks he's mocking her, so she decides to use her knight's special skill to send Lux back to God. She then attacks him again with a laser so strong that it breaks the barriers, but Lysa gets frustrated because he's only dodging and not attacking her back. In her anger, Lysa turns all-American and drops a nuke on Lux, but it makes her exhausted and she slowly loses control of Tiamat. Just then, the barrier around the arena disappears, and an abyss monster shows up inside the academy, making everyone panic. Before Lysa can process what's going on, the monster attacks her, but Lux jumps in to protect her. He then asks Lysa to charge up her attack and wait for his signal to fire, and she agrees like a submissive housewife. As Lux starts fighting the monster with his weak wyvern, the others think he's an idiot who's gonna get unalived, but Ayuri tells them to settle down and watch Lux farm aura. Despite being at a disadvantage, Lux continues to engage the monster and eventually gives the signal to Lysa, prompting her to fire a strong laser that obliterates the abyss monster. As she catches her breath, she sees the wyvern crash into the arena and rushes to check up on Lux. That evening, Lysa is gooning in the bath while thinking about how Lux single-handedly saved them all. On the other hand, Lux is in his dorm room, coming down with a fever, and she visits him to nurse him to health. She also forgives him for the bath incident because he saved her life, and they agree to become friends. She then explains she didn't want him to work here because he saw everything, but while Lux is thinking about her plots, she's actually talking about the old empire's crest on her body. Lux asks how she got it, but she says she won't tell him yet. She also asks him to keep it a secret, and after he promises he won't tell anyone, she leaves his room with a smile. The next day, Lux is introduced to his new class, and everyone starts gossiping about him. While looking for a seat, he passes by a busty chick named Fily and instantly recognizes her as his childhood friend. Seeing this, the teacher suggests he sits beside Fily, but this makes Lysa jealous. Lux then asks Fily to share her book, but she refuses to talk to him until he calls her by her nickname Phi-chan, which further fuels Lysa's jealousy. After class, several girls surround Lux to ask if he's a grower or a shower, but a girl named Tilfer shows up with submission forms for those who want to use Lux's handyman services. Amid the chaos, Lysa approaches Lux and requests his bedroom services.
Say what?
Causing everyone in class to freak out. However, when Lysa slyly tells everyone Lux has already seen her cookie, Fily stands up to her for defaming her friend. In response, Lysa bribes her with a donut and Filthy agrees to back off. Just then, another girl named Krolsifer interrupts and tells Lysa that the headmaster has summoned Lux. After she takes him outside, Lux thanks her, knowing that she lied to get him out of there. She admits to this and asks if he knows anything about the Black Hero, the lone drag knight who single-handedly destroyed the old empire. When Lux stays silent, she asks him to help her look for the Black Hero, and Lux's eyes show concern. The following day, he dreams about his brother Fujil telling him about a plan to save the empire, and it involves a lot of deaths, including that of Filthy. Lux argues that he wants to save as many lives as he can, but he wakes up from this dream and finds his hand grabbing something soft. He freaks out when he sees that Filthy is sleeping next to him, with her tatas out, and she wakes up to explain that this is her room. Lux frantically tells her to cover her jugs, but Tilfer comes into the room and tells everyone that he's a diddler. Later, he meets Ayuri and her roommate Nokudo, explaining to them that Filthy is the headmaster's sister, and she put them in the same room in hopes that she'll soon become an aunt. Hearing this, Ayuri decides to leave, but when he suggests they have breakfast together, she says she doesn't want to get used to having him around. Afterward, he heads to a garage on a request and finds Lysa sleeping on the floor. She wakes up and explains she was the one who requested him because she wanted to show him that she's repaired his wyvern. She adds that he's going to be a part of the Knight Squadron, consisting of the best cadets, and she wants his help in protecting the Empire. She then takes him to the city so they can get to know each other better, only to lead him into the fanciest restaurant in town.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
However, she forgets her wallet at home.
No! No! No!
And they're forced to get snacks from a local shop. Lysa suddenly starts to blush and admits that her chest feels hot, so Lux takes her to the bell tower so she can get a good view of the city. He explains he once came here on a job, and she feels bad for him because he is the prince of the former empire. Lux praises her for not only being an excellent mechanic but also a powerful drag knight, which shows that she'll be a worthy queen. Hearing this, she suddenly becomes stern and asks him how one becomes a worthy queen. She then reveals that she was captured by the old empire 5 years ago because her father participated in the rebellion and neglected her. She was given the old empire's crest to make it evident that she was a prisoner, and even though she wanted her dad to come save him, the guy never did. In the end, she decided to become a member of the new empire to save her skin, making her think she's not worthy of being a queen. Since she had no other siblings, she became a princess by default after her dad died, while also hiding the old empire's crest. That night, Lux is reflecting on Lysa's words, recalling how his brother went off-script and pulled an Itachi on their family during the rebellion. Lux asked him why he did it, but Bro told him he was too stupid to understand the reality of this world. The next day, Lux wakes up to the sound of bells and rushes to the garage, where the cadets are being briefed on the appearance of a large abyss monster. Before the cadets leave, Lux asks Lysa to be careful, and she tells him not to worry because she's got plot armor. After she flies off with her squad, Lux mentions to Ayuri that the number of monsters appearing has increased, which is quite suspicious. Soon after, Lysa's squad engages with the monster, but they hear a flute that makes it go kaboom, and Filthy hears the flute from a distance. From the remains of the monster rise dozens of gargoyle monsters, who are led by a knight named Barth, who used to be a commander of the old empire. He sends the monsters to attack Lysa, and while she gets overwhelmed, Nokudo returns to the garage and informs them of the urgency. Hearing this, Lux decides to help Lysa, but Ayuri worries he's gonna get unalived because all he has is a weak wyvern, and he cannot use his other black sword. Despite that, Lux assures her he'll be fine, and she gives up because she knows he won't listen. Back on the battlefield, Lysa is barely hanging on, but Shurus and Tilfer are too exhausted to continue fighting and choose to retreat. Barth sends another batch of gargoyles towards her, and once she's knocked down, she sees that the old empire's rebel army has also joined the attack. Just then, Lux asks him to hang on as he's on his way, but she tells him to let her go because she's not a worthy queen. Amid this, Barth approaches her and rips her uniform off, revealing the old empire's crest on her belly. While laughing like a maniac, he reveals he was the one who put that crest on her, prompting her to throw her sword in his face. The sword leaves a small scar on his cheek, but when he tries to end her, Lux reaches in time to block. He tells Lysa he's also a failed prince who couldn't save his people, but he'll make sure to save her so she can become a queen. As Barth backs off, Lux finally pulls out his black sword and summons his other drag knight, Bahamut. The sky turns red, and it rains in Barth's pants, while Krolsifer sees this from the garage and realizes the Black Hero has returned. Lux then proceeds to aura farm on the entire rebel army, reminding everyone that he was the knight who single-handedly destroyed the old empire 5 years ago. Barth finally recognizes him as the old prince and asks why he's fighting his own people, but Lux sends him back to God without hesitation. A few days later, Lux is enlisted into the Night Squadron, and all the students of the academy throw him a surprise party. Even Celis and Tilfer, who previously thought he was a creepy diddler, accept his presence in the academy, and Lysa praises him in her typical tsundere fashion. Amid this, Celis approaches Lux with a sandwich to congratulate him, which makes Lysa upset. Riley then starts the celebration, and everyone has a good time except for a few girls, including Sania, who still hasn't accepted Lux. Later, Riley tells Lux that they'll be hosting a competition with the winner getting a special form, which allows the girls to call dibs on Lux's sausage for an entire week. She then hands the form to Lux and tells him to protect it for 1 hour if he wants to save his dignity. Before he can process anything, the girls run after him, so he bolts out of there and hides in Lysa's garage. Lysa says she's not interested in the competition but instead asks him about the Black Hero, which immediately makes Lux anxious. She tells him not to worry as everyone from her squad will keep their mouths shut, but she wants to learn more about his behemoth special skill. At this, Lux drops his guard and starts explaining, only for Lysa to restrain him using her tie mat and mock him for being an idiot. Lux takes the L and asks her to let him go so he can give her the form, but as soon as she does, he calls her psych and runs off. While hiding in the bushes, he is found by Miss Massive Melons, who is offered cake by Riley in exchange for the form. She immediately restrains Lux, which causes the form to drop, but when she tries to pick it up, Lux grabs it first and runs off. He heads to the battle arena, where he hides inside a dark room to wait the rest of it out. That's when he hears Celis and the others coming into the room, and when Sania starts unplotting herself, he finally realizes he's in the changing room. While the other girls put on their training suits, Krolsifer spots Lux hiding behind a box, and he realizes he's cooked. However, she tells the others to go on without her and then tells Lux that he can relax because 1 hour has already passed. She also wishes to see the form, so Lux finally lets his guard down and hands it to her. Just then, he hears the clock ring, and Krolsifer reveals she had tampered with the clock to fool him, which means she's the winner. She then leans closer and tells him he'll be her boyfriend for a week, making Lux blush. That night, Lux and Yuruka are summoned to Riley's office, where she shows them a flute that they found on Barth after Lux defeated him. She says she will soon hand it to the Night Squadron, but before that, she wants Lux to investigate its purpose. After they leave her office, Yuruka tells Lux that he must be careful around Krolsifer because she's definitely hiding something. The next day during lunch, Krolsifer gets a separate table with Lux, which makes them both the center of attention. She then reveals she's a noble from a different country, and she's sent here to find herself a man with a big black sword whom she will marry for political reasons. However, she wants to hold on to her V-card until she's achieved a personal goal, so she wants Lux to pretend to be her boyfriend when her family butler visits her. Lux says he's never had a girl, so she should pick someone else for the job, but she reminds him that in the Academy of Kitties, he alone carries the Kitty Slayer 69. That night, while she helps him with a maths problem, Lysa barges in with the girls to ask why they're up so late. Krolsifer tells her they were just doing homework, but to make her jealous, Lysa tells her she's already held hands with Lux. Krolsifer is confused because holding hands is not a big deal, making everyone realize Lysa missed a biology lesson in the previous grade. The next day, Lux meets Krolsifer on the school grounds and locks arms with him for their pretend date. Unknown to them, Lysa and Celis are following them in disguise. Once in the city, Krolsifer takes Lux into a luxury clothing shop where she gets him a custom-made suit for the big day. After that, she suggests they grab something to eat, but they end up walking into a secluded area where they're suddenly ambushed by some rebels of the former empire. After Lux dodges their attack, he looks up to see that they're surrounded, and Krolsifer immediately asks him to take out the two in front so she can summon her drag knight. At this, Lux engages with the rebels and draws fire, giving Krolsifer enough time to summon her ride, Fafnir. Using its skill called Wise Blood, she's able to predict enemy moments and defeat them with ease. Just then, Lysa and Fily show themselves, but as Lux asks why they are here, he's distracted by a runaway rebel. Chasing after him, he sees a woman restrain and knock out the rebel, and she reveals herself to be Krolsifer's Balter Alter Eyes. After that, the whole squad joins Krolsifer and Lux's dinner, where she reveals to Alter Eyes that Lux is her boyfriend. Just then, Lord Balseride suddenly appears and shocks Alter Eyes, who reminds him that their dinner was scheduled for tomorrow, but Balseride says he came early to see his future wife. After he introduces himself to Krolsifer, she tells him to forget about cracking her because she's dating Lux. Balseride immediately recognizes him as the former Empire's prince and challenges him to a duel to see who is worthy of Troublesome. Troublesome ups the stakes by proposing a 2-on-2 duel, and Balseride accepts, telling them to be prepared in 3 days' time. The next day, Troublesome thanks Lux for agreeing to the duel, but when Lux worries they don't have enough time to prepare, Troublesome says he can aura farm if he uses Bahamut. She also notices that he's a rage baiter's worst nightmare because he never gets angry, and he's doing so much for her, even though they're faking a relationship. Just then, Lysa shows and immediately connects the dots, making her happy that she still has a chance with Lux. Excited, she decides to strengthen Lux's drag ride by adding a drill to it, but Lux tells her it's fine. Troublesome then says she has something to do and leaves, prompting Lysa to ask Lux if he's okay, and he tells her he didn't get any sleep last night because he was working. Later, Lux goes on a walk while yawning, until Fur notices that he's not with his new girlfriend. Immediately, she grabs his hand and drags her to a room where Lysa and Fily are dressed in maid costumes, much to his confusion. Turns out, Lysa planned to make him feel better because he was tired, and Tilfer suggested they dress up as maids to jog his memory of the time when he was a prince. Noticing that he's uncomfortable, Lysa gets all shy and asks if he wants them to stop, but Lux is a gooner-like who goes off on chicks in maid costumes. Lysa shyly tells him she's willing to fiddle with his swords if he wants, but when he says no, she reveals Tilfer had told him sloppy toppies were part of a maid's job. Meanwhile, in the royal conference hall, the 4 great nobles hold a meeting to discuss a powerful entity called the Ragnarok, which will soon attempt to awaken the final bosses of all the ruins and destroy the world. Since the new empire is not strong enough to deal with that, Balseride's father, Ward, suggests they explore the deeper parts of the ruins to locate a powerful weapon and assigns the task to Balseride. That night, Riley gathers the cadets to inform them that they'll be investigating the ruins tomorrow. She also shows them the flute, which might be the key used to enter the deepest part of the ruins, and she leaves it in Lux's care. Lysa then announces that she'll add a drill to Lux's ride tomorrow, but he tells her to scram once again. He then notices Troublesome standing in the back, so after the meeting ends, he asks her why she was there, and she says she's part of the investigation. Lux finds it odd that a transfer student like her is allowed into important meetings, but she reveals she personally asked to investigate the ruins, as it might bring her closer to her goal. Later, while Lux relaxes in the bath, wondering what Troublesome is after, he sees Fily sitting next to him with her plots exposed. In panic, he immediately looks away and asks why she's here, and she reveals Riley told her the bath was free, making Lux realize Riley did it on purpose. Lux decides to leave, thinking he's making Fily uncomfortable, but she says she won't do this with anyone she didn't like. She also mentions how they haven't done this in a while, and Lux starts to get funny ideas which makes his Johnny excited. Just then, he notices that Fily has fallen asleep, so he quickly tries to wake her up before she drowns. While holding her up, he recalls that she used to have a scar on her back, but it's not there anymore, which he finds weird. She then asks Lux to be careful at the ruins because she won't be joining her tomorrow, and Lux promises to be careful. The following day, the cadets line up for their mission, but the instructor Raygri informs them that Lord Balseride will be joining them too. Clearly, no one is happy to see his dumb face, but they are all forced to accept him because he's royalty. Later, the squad locates the ruins, but a Diablo's monster blocks their path and immediately attacks one of the cadets. Lux quickly steps in to protect her, but his drag ride is too weak to handle it alone. As others take a shot at him, Diablos easily dodges their attack, but Troublesome uses her wise blood power to land a hit. Immediately after, Balseride also takes a shot at Diablos, and then challenges Lux to see who can defeat the monster first. Lysa and Troublesome tell Balseride to scram, but he starts rizzing up Troublesome mid-battle, only for her to ignore his tries. She then uses Wise Blood again to predict Diablo's movements, but her attack fails for some reason. As the battle continues, Balseride throws a huge axe towards the monster and takes it down, while Troublesome is left wondering why her skill won't work. Just then, the monster explodes, and everyone quickly puts up a shield to protect themselves, except for Troublesome, who's losing control of her ride, Fafnir. As Lux tries to protect her, he gets caught in the blast and falls into the ruins alongside Troublesome. She thanks him for saving her and suggests they head to the central altar to reunite with the others, and Lux agrees. On the way, she struggles to walk because she's still tired from the battle, and Lux asks her to rest for a bit. However, she says she won't get a chance like this again and starts walking, only to collapse a second time. Lux then offers to carry her to the altar, and she accepts his help. Once reaching the room, he asks her why she's looking for the Black Hero, and she says she wants to know how he's so strong. She then walks to the altar, and while Lux wonders if the horn is the key, the altar reacts to Troublesome, making him realize she's the key. She then reveals she's not a human of this world but rather a survivor of the ruins, right before the door opens, much to Lux's shock. Seconds later, the altar starts to collapse, so Lux grabs her hand and rushes into the next room. After seeing that the exit is blocked, he looks around to see hundreds of capsules in a long, dark tunnel. Troublesome reveals she was found in one such capsule a long time ago, and the Einfolk family used her as a clue to the lost past. She also admits she had no memory of her life before meeting her new family, but everyone treated her like a biohazard, so she quickly realized she was adopted. She worked hard to learn noble etiquette and even became a powerful drag knight to earn her family's love, but nothing she did was enough for her family. Until now, she wanted to believe that all her alien origin was a lie, and she was really a part of the Einfolk family. But this incident confirms that she was indeed found inside the ruins. She still does not remember anything from the past, but when Lux suggests they go deeper to learn the truth, she refuses because she's worried she won't find anyone who remembers her. She then thanks Lux for everything he's done. But Lux grabs her hand and tells her he's not done because he's still her boyfriend, albeit a fake one. This makes Troublesome cheer up, and she tells him not to believe a woman so easily, claiming that everything she said was a lie to see his reaction. She then asks him why he's so soft, and Lux suddenly becomes sad, recalling how he was kicked out with his mom and Ayuri because his grandfather couldn't stay silent about the old empire's corruption. Then one day, his mother was gravely hurt, and no one came to help her as he watched her fade away in his arms. Because of this, Lux became resentful towards everyone, but Fily was the one who saved him. Lux then realized he didn't want to hate anyone, but rather build a country where his loved ones could live without being hated. Hearing this, Troublesome asks if he would have saved her had he become the king, but they are interrupted when Lysa uses a drill to clear the exit. As he returns to the dorms, Ayuri scolds him for not completing the mission and for damaging his wyvern. He apologizes for being careless and also tells her that the flute is not the key to the ruins, purposely keeping the whole Troublesome story hidden. She then gives him a tea that she got from Troublesome, telling him that it will help him relax before the duel with Balseride. Lux happily accepts it and dozes off, not realizing that Troublesome had drugged it because she doesn't want Lux to get hurt. Later, as Ayuri reads the request form, she sighs because she knows Lux will not take this lightly. Meanwhile, Troublesome arrives at the arena all by herself, and Balseride prepares to fight without any hesitation. As Alterai summons her Drag Knight too, Balseride uses some skill to knock her out, and makes this a 1 versus 1. As the battle starts, Troublesome tries using Wise Blood to predict Balseride's movements, but his skill mysteriously fails, allowing Balseride to overpower her. She then insults her for being a disappointment. But Troublesome knows everything is going according to his plan, as he participated in the investigation and also sent rebels after her just to see Fafnir's powers. Balseride proudly admits this, revealing that he did so to obtain her since she's the key to the ruins. Despite this, he mocks her, saying she can't do anything against someone so powerful as him, adding that she's just a tool for his success. Just then, Balseride senses an attack coming and moves out of the way, and Troublesome looks up to see Lux wielding Bahamut. Officially entering the duel, Lux announces that he won't let Balseride take Troublesome away before charging up his attack, called Reload on Fire. Troublesome begs him to turn away because she doesn't want him getting hurt, but Lux refuses and attacks Balseride head-on. After Balseride blocks the attack, Lux realizes that Balseride's Drag Knight has the power to steal abilities of other Drag Knights, and Balseride is using Fafnir's Wise Blood to predict Bahamut's movements. Using a stolen ability drains stamina from the original owner, which is why Troublesome has been tired all day. Now exposed, Balseride tries to attack Troublesome head-on, but Lux quickly blocks it, only for Balseride to grab his arm. He then steals Lux's Reload on Fire ability and starts overpowering the Black Hero. But Troublesome cannot understand why he's fighting for her. That's when Ayuri tells her that Lux has always been this way, and she must watch over him before he gets hurt. Meanwhile, as things heat up between Lux and Balseride, he tells Lux that he is merely using Troublesome to save his country from Ragnarok, only to notice that the Bahamut is losing power. Troublesome sees this too, and asks Lux to stop fighting for his sake because she was only using him to get what she wants. Seeing the tears in her eyes, Lux refuses to stand down, declaring that she's his lover and attacks again, but Balseride thinks it'll be a piece of cake, because Bahamut has already lost most of its power. However, Lux somehow breaks through his shield and destroys his Dragnite with an explosion so big it can be seen from the academy. There, Ayuri explains that Lux purposely allowed Bahamut to go berserk for a moment to ignore its limits, and that's how he was able to surpass the others. With the duel over, Lux carries Krulsifer's hand and takes her back to the academy. The next day, Lysa and Tilfer wait outside the restaurant while Lux meets with Alterise, who explains to Lux that he's now Krulsifer's fiancé. Lux is caught off guard and tries to resist, but Alterise takes her leave, making him confused. Krulsifer then asks him to sit next to her, and as he does, he complains that their relationship was just a show. Krulsifer reminds him that he called her his lover last night during the duel, but Fily says it was in the heat of the moment. Hearing this, she jokes that she doesn't like indecisive men, but he has an aggressive nature that makes her cookie moist. Then suddenly, she locks lips with him, which makes Lysa lose her mind. Krulsifer asks Lux if that was enough, but when he says no, she sucks all the juices out of his mouth and says she'll give him sloppy toppies every day if he marries her. While Lux freezes in shock, Lysa barges into the room and screams at them for being freaky. A few days later, a new student is shyly walking across the school grounds, but Raigri strictly tells her to return to the dorm, reminding her that there is a diddler lurking around. Assuming she's the new transfer student, Raigri walks past her and tells her to be careful. After she walks away, the supposed new student reveals himself to be Lux, lamenting over why no one is able to recognize him. Earlier that day, Celis visited his room and informed him that the academy had changed its ground management due to the danger of a stalker and Ragnarok. Lux realized he laid down the only man who was strong enough to beat Ragnarok, but Celis told him not to worry because they still had Celis, who was the strongest in the academy and would soon return from her mission. She also informed him that Celis absolutely despised men, and Lux realized he'd have to face the Lysa situation all over again. Celis then asked him if he'd help patrolling the school grounds, and once he agreed, Tilfer and Nokudo held him down, which allowed Celis to give him a makeover. At present, Lux is sitting on a bench, waiting for the stalker to show up, when he hears some girl talking in the woods. He decides to investigate, only to see a blonde girl talking to a cat about everyone having high expectations of her. Even the cat gets tired of her yapping, and Lux lets his guard down for a second, only for the stalker to appear behind him. When he tries to attack Lux, the blonde quickly steps in and tells the man to surrender, but he uses a smoke bomb to escape. He then throws a knife towards the girl, but Lux heroically saves her as the knife scrapes his arm. Seeing that he's injured, the blonde takes him to the infirmary, where she asks Lux to take off his jacket, which is a problem for him because he's in disguise. He turns his back and lowers his jacket, allowing the blonde to tape him up without realizing that he's a boy. Lux then asks her why she was talking to a cat earlier, and she accidentally blurts out that she has no friends to talk to. Lux then thanks her for the help, and she says it's her job to protect her juniors. As Lux leaves the room, she notes that she hasn't seen his face before, and Lux introduces himself as Luno, only for the blonde to reveal that she's Celis. The next day, Lux reflects on this whole interaction, but Lysa gets annoyed because he's not paying attention to her. When Lux says he's tired, Krulsifer joins them and suggests they do some bedroom exercises to keep his blood flowing. Lysa gets annoyed at this and starts arguing with her, and while they fight over his sausage, they catch the attention of everyone around them. That night, a hooded man visits Lord Balseride in the prison, and Balseride gets hyped up thinking he's come to save him. However, the man places a finger on his chest and sends him back to God before using a flute to summon a horde of gargoyles. The next day, Lux decides to talk to Celis head-on about the danger of Ragnarok, but Tilfer knocks on his door and drags him to Riley's office. There, he sees a crowd of girls watching Celis disapprove of Lux's addition to the academy, while Lysa is arguing in favor of Lux. Seeing this, Lux introduces himself to Celis, who thanks him for saving the academy in her absence, but tells him to roll out because he is no longer needed. Lux argues that he needs her help in suppressing Ragnarok, but Celis tells him not to interfere with the new empire's matters, declaring that she will fight Ragnarok on her own. Despite this, Lux refuses to leave the academy because he's certain Celis won't be able to handle it on her own. As things get heated, Riley interrupts and notes that Lux should have a chance to prove his worth, so she suggests a duel to settle this matter. Riley wants Celis to see Lux's big black sword for herself, because she's certain Celis will change her mind once she sees Lux's true strength. Celis accepts the conditions, stating that she'll meet him at Reese Island in 3 days' time before leaving the room. Later, Cinia knocks on Celis's door and shares her concern about having a male in the academy, so Celis promises to get rid of Lux after the duel. After Sania leaves, Celis tells herself that she must defeat Lux in order to protect him in the school. 3 days later, the squad arrives at Reese Island, and Celis immediately tells the girls to warm up for training. Meanwhile, Lux spots a church on top of the hill, and it reminds him of something from the past. That evening, he catches up with the girls, who are exhausted from extensive training. But despite this, they hold Celis in high regard because she's very hardworking. Celis then decides to head to her room, so Lux returns the girly clothes he borrowed the other day. However, the girls playfully tell him that he looks smashable in those, and he should keep them. Just then, Sanaya borrows him for a request, and he's taken to Celis's room, where she's lying on her chest waiting for a massage. Lux doesn't understand why a man-hater would summon a man for a massage, so he dresses up as Luna and shows Celis what those hands can do. After he's done, Celis finally sees his face and gets excited to see him again. She eagerly suggests they talk for a bit, but Lux anxiously refuses because he doesn't want to blow his cover, which makes Celis sad. She then suggests they hang out during break tomorrow, but when Lux refuses again, Celis begins to wonder if he hates her. Hearing this, Lux gets nervous and agrees to hang out with her, so Celis excitedly tells him to meet her at the camp. She then examines Lux's black sword before handing it back to him, and Lux nervously leaves the room, only for Sania to see him and ask who he is. Luckily, Krolsifer covers for Lux and asks Sania why she's snooping around, prompting her to leave. Afterward, Krolsifer tells Lux to be careful around Sania because she's encouraging Celis to throw him out of the academy. That night, Lux wakes up to see Filthy standing by the window, which freaks him out. She climbs on his bed and asks if he wants a hug, reminding him of his past when she used to hug him to cheer him up. Lux tells her no because he's not the same anymore, but Filthy argues that he is still the same Lux and proceeds to hug him, telling him that she'll fight Celis in his place so he can stay in the academy. The following day, Lux dresses up as Luna and meets Celis, who eagerly takes him to the city so she can try on some new plot armor, which makes Lux bust in his pants. After he runs out in embarrassment, Celis starts to think she's a bad friend, but Lux argues she's not, and he really enjoys hanging out with her. Hearing this, Celis gives him a hug and then takes him to a picnic spot where she falls asleep while sitting, only to wake up, refusing to rest because she's the captain of the knights. When she puts on a strong front, Lux begins to laugh, because this is the same idiot who was talking to a cat earlier, which makes her embarrassed. She admits she's lonely and everyone mistakes her for being a man-hater, when in reality, she's dying to get cracked by one. Meanwhile, at the royal palace, the general tells the prince that he wasn't able to locate Ragnarok, and the only traces he found were close to Reese Island, the same place where Lux and the others are staying. Later, before swimming practice, Sania asks Celis why she's allowing a man to join them despite being a man-hater, but Celia tells her that she doesn't hate men at all. She admits she's quite fond of men because her caretaker was also a man, but she does not know how to deal with men of her age, which is why she comes out as hateful. She also says she cannot rely on a man at all because she's the daughter of a great noble and the captain of the knights. Later, as Lux arrives at the beach, he's welcomed by his busty classmates and their ample jugs. However, Lux starts acting all shy as if he's never gooned to Mia Khalifa's planetary bodies. Just then, Filthy starts splashing water on Lux, but Lux gets nervous and runs off with his eyes closed. He bumps into Lysa on the way, and she's nervous about wearing a swimsuit because the crest on her belly is visible. While he tries to comfort her, Riley shows up in a swimsuit with Ayuri, but Ayuri quickly covers her jugs, even though she's flat as a surfboard. Just then, Celis arrives with Sania and sternly asks Riley if this is a training camp or just an excuse for a holiday. Riley jokes that she's also wearing a swimsuit, and Celis explains that Luna picked it for her. However, Riley doesn't know anyone named Luna in the academy, so Celis and her squad drag Lux into the woods and ask him to put on a swimsuit. Lux gets nervous and runs out of the woods, only to bump into Celis, who gives him a cold look before leaving with Sania. However, Lux recalls how she told him she needed to apologize to Lux because she's been raised by strong men like her sensei Wade, who is Lux's grandfather. Celis blames herself for Wade's death, so she wants to make sure Lux is not exposed to danger to make amends, which explains why she wants him out of the academy. That night, Lux reflects on her words and then looks over to the church on top of the hill, not knowing that the stalker and the hooded man are having a meeting there. The following day, Lux and Celis show up at the arena for their duel, and after Ragri explains the terms, Celis summons her divine drag knight called Lindworm. In response, Lux summons his weaker knight Wyvern, and Ayuri explains it's because no one at the camp knows he's the Black Hero. As they clash swords, Sheris and Tilfer catch the stalker red-handed in the woods and expose its plan to send inside information to a rival country. They also know that the person behind the mask is Sania, so she finally takes her disguise off and reveals her mission to destroy the new empire. She then signals the hooded man in the church, who uses his flute to give Sania a power boost. Meanwhile, Lux and Celia's battle is midway, but before they can get anywhere, a huge abyss monster emerges, and everyone makes a run for it. At the same time, Fily is stumbling into the woods and collapses into Riley's arms, who embraces her and says she'll never let anyone take her again. Back in the arena, Lux and Celis realize that the monster is an incomplete Ragnarok, so Celis takes it upon herself to defeat it. After she hits it with her best shot, the Ragnarok seems to have died, but Sania appears alongside the hooded man, who uses his flute to revive it. While Celis is shocked to learn that Sania is a traitor, Lux immediately recognizes the hooded man as his brother Fudgel. Sania then attacks Celis, but when Lux intervenes, Sania tells him he shouldn't protect Celis because she's the reason behind Wade's death. Just then, the Ragnarok emits a black smoke, and Sania takes a shot at Celis, which knocks her out. Lux immediately checks up on her, and she wakes up apologizing to Lux for causing Wade's death. She reveals she had told Wade about the Empire's corruption, but when he tried to advise them, he was put in prison, where he passed away. The last thing he told Celis was to keep standing with the truth, but she believes she has failed him. She believes Lux must hate him by now, but Lux reveals his black sword that Celis had seen on Luna, making her realize that Luna was Lux all along. With that, Lux summons Bahamut and tells Celis that he does not hate her at all because she's both strong and kind, and it makes her blush. He then promises to protect her and charges at Sania, damaging her knight before charging at Ragnarok and slicing it up. Celis then approaches Sania to make her surrender, but her hesitation to hurt her allows Sania to get away. Just as she leaves, Lux lands the final blow to Ragnarok, which causes an orb to leave its body. Sania quickly yoinks the orb and then grabs Fugi, who promises to come back for round 2. The hooded person finally unmasks, and Lux finally realizes that it's not his brother Fudgel, but rather a woman named Hayes. She then reveals her plan to revive a nightmare from 5 years ago, but before Lux can figure out what she means, she slips away with Sania. Afterward, Lux returns to the academy and tends to Celia's wounds, who says she's grateful he forgave her, but she's not happy about the Luno matter because he's seen all the embarrassing sides. She also feels embarrassed because he saved her life, even though she thought she was strong enough to be a girl boss. She also admits she does not understand how to get along with men her age and wants Lux to teach her, just like how his grandfather taught her years ago. She also approves his entry into the academy, and Lux suggests she opens up and talks to other men like she talks to him because she's already pretty cute and even has jiggle physics. Hearing this makes her blush, because no one has ever called her cute before. Later that night, Lux wonders what Hayes meant by nightmare from 5 years ago, and he gets some flashbacks of a church filled with dead bodies. Just then, the whole island starts to shake, and they rush to the beach to see a whole ruin emerge from the ocean. Seeing this, Riley finally tells them the real reason why they came to this island. 9 years ago, Fudgel, Barth, and Lux accidentally destroyed a statue at the palace, but since no one saw them do it, Barth wanted to blame Fily. Later, Fily was scolded for the trouble, but Lux intervened and took all the blame for it. Afterwards, Fily thanked him for saving her, but Lux felt sorry because he was partially at fault. Despite this, she grew a liking for him and gave him a cookie as a token of friendship. At present, Lux enters Fily's room and she tells him she'll be participating in the ruin investigation. Lux is worried because she collapsed last night, but she simply thanks him for caring about her. Just then, Lysa arrives and takes him to her garage, explaining that she has removed the limiters on Bahamut and given him a new skill called Overlimit. She also warns him not to use it so freely because he can also die from it, but she's installed it anyway as a last measure. Later, all the cadets gather outside the ruins, and Riley reveals that she and Ayuri will be taking part since it's a last-scale investigation. Ayuri then explains that according to old scriptures, this ruin automatically absorbs the people around it after a certain amount of time. Lux asks Fily if she's alright, and when she says she is, he tells her to call for him if she's in trouble. Ayuri walks up to him to remind him that she's also going, so he must protect her too. As Fily boots up her drag ride, Riley worries for her safety, but the ruin activates, and they're all sucked into a dark, overgrown room. While Nokuto analyzes the surroundings, Ayuri informs the others that this ruin has 11 floors, and they're on the first one. As they move to the second floor, they come across an area that looks like it's been through war. But Nokudo is unable to locate any enemies nearby. Riley suggests they split into groups. So Celis, Lysa, and Troublesome join one squad to clear floor 4. Riley teams up with Fily and Tilford to tackle floor 5, while Lux would head to the 6th floor. Celis is eager to join Lux's team, but she's told she's strong enough on her own and must clear floor 3. This leaves Celis depressed, and when Lux hears her talking to herself like a schizo, she suggests they team up halfway after completing their tasks, which suddenly lifts her mood. As the search begins, Ayuri and Nokudo join Lux on floor 3, and they find traces of something human-like buried under the rubble. Lux clears the debris to find a girl underneath, and Ayuri calls Troublesome because she's explored the other ruins before. Seeing the girl, Troublesome asks Ayuri to leave because a fight can break out soon, and she won't be able to protect her, so Nokudo takes her away. Afterwards, Troublesome admits to Lux that she doesn't understand what this girl is, but when she touches her face, the girl opens her eyes and speaks in a robotic voice. After waking up, she looks at them and then goes back to sleep, admitting that she has no recollection of who they are because her systems aren't working properly. When asked who she is, she reveals herself to be Karushi, the supervisor of these ruins, and further reveals that she's an automaton. Troublesome asks her if she knows anything about the old eras, but she says she forgot because she slept too much. When they look at her as if she lost her family business in gambling, she gets anxious and explains that her access to data has been restricted. After begging them not to abandon her, she registers Troublesome as admin and asks her to restore the system in order to jog her memory. When Troublesome asks how, she reveals they must head to the control room and confirm their identity, which will help run a restore command. Soon after, as Karushi meets up with Celis and the others, Lux notices that Fily is not in good shape. Before he checks on her, Troublesome interrupts and cites her concern about Karushi, because she has a creator who can override an admin's command. Riley then suggests they move on, so Ayuri reveals that the 7th floor is the production area. Lux then approaches Fily, who is struggling to breathe, but she insists on coming with everyone despite her condition. Meanwhile, the 4 great nobles discuss Barth leading the rebel army to attack them, but they don't have enough manpower to fend him off. One of the nobles suggests they seek reinforcements from the academy, but Celia's father is against sacrificing young cadets. However, the nobles believe only Lux and Lysa are strong enough to defeat Ragnarok, but the queen asks for more time before she makes a call. Back in the ruins, Lux carries Fily, who feels sad because she's being a burden, while Riley is saddened to see her in this state. Soon after, they reach the production area where they see hundreds of capsules on the walls, and Riley reveals that the abyss monsters are made here. Just then, Fily senses something coming, and it's Hayes using the flute to summon monsters. Within seconds, a Diablos appears and starts attacking the cadets, but Lux takes it head-on with his weak wyvern. Amid battle, Lux learns that a total of 3 Diablos were released, and while 2 came into the ruins, 1 is roaming outside. When Lux asks Riley to suspend the investigation, she insists on going forward because they can't make it out in time anyway. Just then, Fily decides it's hero time and rushes off to save those on the outside, and Lux summons Bahamut to go after her. She leads Lux to the central altar, where Lux asks her if she's been here before. As she stays silent, the altar activates and teleports them outside the ruins, where they are immediately targeted by Diablos. After attacking it, Lux gets a weird sensation from the church and realizes that he's been here before, which hits him with a shock. Just then, the Diablos returns and sends Fily crashing into the church, but Lux quickly slices it up and follows after Fily, only to spot a dark basement inside the church. Descending down to it, he recalls that the Empire used this place to experiment on humans 5 years ago. He also remembers seeing Fily here, and after he locates her, he decides to take her back to the dorm. However, Fily suddenly starts choking him by the neck, before opening her eyes to reveal a glow in them. Several years ago, while Fily was leaving the capital with her family, Lux promised her he would create a world where she could live carefree. Hearing this, Fily ran over to him and gave him a kiss, which she said was a good luck charm to meet again someday. At present, Lux is right where he wants to be, but Fily suddenly snaps out of her trance and lets him go, right before passing out. Before Lux can check up on her, Hayes enters the room to do generic villain stuff. Meanwhile, inside the ruins, Troublesome and Lysa beat the second Diablos, but when Lysa says something feels off, Troublesome praises her for being keen and says she has the same gut feeling. Just then, Ayuri relays that they've also defeated the third and final Diablos, but Tilfer and Sheris's drag knights are badly damaged. They've also located the door to the deepest part of the ruins, but they need a key to open it. Back in the church, Hayes informs Lux that if he attacks, Fily will die too because she has the seed of Ragnarok planted in her. That seed is slowly eating her from the inside, and soon enough, Fily will turn into an abyss monster with no control over her actions. Fily was opposing Hayes' commands until now, which is why she was getting weaker every day, and her order is to take Lux's life, meaning that she will suffer in pain until Lux stays alive. Lux is in utter shock when he hears this, so much so that he can't bring himself to attack Hayes. She explains that Fily has a few days left to live, but she'll let Fily go if Lux opens the ruins door for her using Troublesome. She also gives him 2 days to think it over as she walks away, after which, Lux brings Fily back to the dorm. She wakes up and tells him she's hungry, so he feeds her with his own hands and learns that she doesn't remember anything. She then wishes to feed him too, but Lux notices one of her eyes shifting and leaves the room, lamenting over being unable to help her. He then visits Riley's office, where he recalls that he saw Fily on this island 5 years ago. Riley reveals Fily was a test subject, and he tried to help her, but she died before he could save her. Lux is confused because Fily is still alive, so she explains that Fily is only alive due to the power of Ragnarok inside her. Riley wants to save her from this curse, and that's why she was insisting on exploring the ruins so they can find a way to help her. Lux recalls how many years ago, Fily came to Lux's mother's grave and hugged him to make him feel better. This allowed Lux to let out all the pent-up sorrow, and he cried in her arms for hours. The next day, Lysa repairs the damage to Bahamut and reveals she has installed a disarming code for his new skill Overlimit. She then leaves to seek Riley's permission to use the skill, but Ayuri wishes he never has to use it. Just then, Lux hears a voice on comms and instantly recognizes that it's his brother Fugil, who tells him that he can save Fily by breaking the flute and defeating the Ragnarok that controls the seed. Afterward, Lux heads to Fily's room and sees her standing by the window. When he asks her to rest, she says she already knows about the abyss in her body, and she had been purposely holding it back so Lux wouldn't become lonely. Now she sees that Lux now has a lot of friends around him, and it's okay for her to die too. Lux embraces her and says he's always been weak, and she's the sole reason he's been able to fight till now. He adds that he's not going to let her die and will find a way to save her, just like she saved him all those years ago. Hearing this, Fily realizes some things never change, so she thanks Lux and agrees not give up. Later, they return to the ruins in front of the door, but Karushi says they can't enter without a key. In that moment, Lux asks Troublesome to step up, and she places her hand on the door to open it. When Riley asks how she did it, she lies that she has admin privileges to the ruins, and they all walk through the door into a large arena surrounded by crystals. Just then, Karushi reveals that her memories have returned, and she was ordered to send them back to God for betraying her master. Her master turns out to be Hayes, who has already turned Fily into a puppet and used them to get to the deepest part of the ruins. She then commands Fily to unalive every one of them, but the cadets are prepared and summon their drag knights. However, Karushi summons unmanned drag knights to counter them, and Lux realizes they're all using Overlimit to boost their strength. With the enemy drag knights engaging with the heroes, Riley warns them to be careful because Fily's skill disables all skills in the area. In the meantime, Hayes continues her plan but is interrupted by Fugil, only to hear another flute. As she runs to the source, she sees Ayuri using a second flute to control the monsters, but when she tries to override it, Lysa breaks her flute. This allows the heroes to defeat all of Hayes' drag knights, but Hayes pulls out her trump card, a second Ragnarok that controls the seed inside Fily. Lysa and Troublesome immediately bombarded with attacks, but it quickly restrains them, prompting Hayes to reveal that this Ragnarok only grows stronger when it takes damage. After Lux frees Lysa, he asked for her permission to use Overlimit, but she says no because she can very well die. Lux argues that he can't lose Fily, plus he has main character plot armor, so Lysa agrees to send her the disarming code. With that, Lux attacks the Ragnarok again and slices it up, but Hayes reminds him that it only grows stronger with damage. As Lux gets restrained and hurt, he is haunted by the memory of his devastating past, but Fily regains control of her body and offers some words of encouragement. With that, Lux finally activates Overlimit and reveals Bahamut's true form. With a single attack, he damages the Ragnarok so much that it decides to retreat, and Fugil tells Hayes that her plan was perfect until Lux activated Overlimit. With the ruins collapsing, Hayes makes her escape, while Lux returns to the dorm with Fily by his side. She says she's used to the flute's sound and can now resist it, before placing her head on his shoulder and thanking him for saving her. A few days later, Lux recovers from his injuries, and the girls throw him a party to celebrate. As Riley joins them, Lux asks what happened to the island, and she says she had to pay a hefty fine for the damages. She also adds that the Foundation Festival is about to take place in the capital, which makes Lysa sad for some reason. At night, she tries to talk to Lux, but Krolsifer interrupts and asks him on a date during the festival. Sheris announces that it's Celis' turn to ride Lux sausage train, but Filthy also wants to join the date. Hearing this, Lysa gets worked up and calls dibs on Lux, but Riley suggests they solve this matter by having Lux pick 3 girls who worked the hardest at the training camp. The next day, Lux goes out with Yuri, asking why so many nobles have come to see the festival, and Yuri tells him it's because there's an all-dragon battle happening this year. She explains it's a fortnight-type event where countries fight for the right to survey the ruins, and the Knight Squadron is representing this country. Yuri warns him to be careful, since he's not fully recovered, also telling him that Empire's assassin Blade has recently escaped prison. Since Lux was the one who defeated her, Yuri believes she will come after him for revenge, so she asks him to be vigilant during his dates. Soon after, he dresses up like a butler and meets Celia, who looks like she's ready to be a mother. He takes her on a tour of the city, after which they sit by the fountain to talk. Celis admits she admires Lux because he has managed to win over everyone in the academy, unlike her, who's a social reject. Despite this, she quickly gets up and admits that she's inspired by Lux and wants to be stronger, only to trip like a dumb blonde. Luckily, Lux catches her, but she gently tells him to stop feeling her jugs, which makes him panic. Just then, Tilfer and the others show up to tease him before telling him it's time for this next date. After putting on a new dress, Lux heads to the Ball of Nobles, where he meets Krolsifer, who asks him for a dance. Afterward, as they watch the sunset, she tells him that Alter Eyes is also here and currently watching them, but they've managed to deceive her for today. However, Krolsifer says deceiving is not enough, and she wants to wrestle tongues with him, and Lux shyly gives him a romantic kiss. With that, she leaves him done and dusting, and the girls watching praise Krolsifer for making the right moves. Afterward, he rushes to his next date with Filthy, who has both her jugs poking out of the screen. This time, Riley joins the girls to watch her sister get cracked from a distance. Meanwhile, Filthy takes Lux to a church and tells him to rest on her thighs. She tells him he's always doing so much, but today is his chance to rest, and Lux listens. She then admits that she has always wanted his help, even though she pretends to be fine, only to see that Lux has already dozed off. At night, Lux returns to the academy all asleep and finds Lysa waiting for him, pissed that he didn't pick her as one of his dates. She quickly gets over it and makes a request of him, asking him to become her knight. She explains that her official duties will pile up after graduation, and she needs someone trustworthy to be her attendant. But Lux is worried about her reputation because he's the old Empire's prince. Lysa admits it feels impossible, but she still wants him to try because on the last day of the festival, she will address the people and wants to introduce him as her knight. With that, she runs off, and Lux is left pondering, not knowing that the assassin Blade is watching him. The next day, Yuri tells him he can only operate Bahamut for 12 minutes in his current state, emphasizing that he needs to rest before the tournament. Just then, the assassin Blade appears, and Lux immediately pulls out his sword to fight her. However, she introduces herself as Yuruka, revealing that she used to serve his family, and she's come here to continue her duties. Walking closer to him, she promises him sloppy toppies straight from heaven, and agrees to follow his commands, which gives Lux funny ideas. Luckily, Yuri snaps him out of it, so Lux tells Yuruka to leave for now, prompting her to skedaddle. Later, he heads into the bath where Yuruka surprises him by getting freaky, making him scream like a virgin. The other girls rush in to make sure he's okay, only to mistake Lux for a degenerate. At night, while they take a walk, Lux asks her why she's come to serve him even though her contract has expired, and she says that even without a contract, her heart and soul belong to the old Empire. She then asks him how long he will continue to deceive those girls because he's strong enough to overthrow the whole empire. When Lux asks if she's joking, Yuruka says she isn't and wants him to promise that he will destroy this empire soon, much to Lux's horror. He admits that he has no intention to start another war, but just then, Celis appears and attacks her. Immediately, Yuruka summons her drag knight called God's Knight Sword, but she soon finds herself surrounded by the whole Knight Squadron. However, Yuruka's ride has the ability to control others, so she causes chaos among the girls and asks Lux, one last time, if he'll change his mind. She even tempts him by promising to tell him a secret, but when Lux refuses, she uses camouflage, and makes her escape. The next day, Lysa is practicing her speech when Lux enters her room, and she asks him if he's thought about her proposal about becoming her knight. When Lux stays silent, she tells him to take his time. Elsewhere, Hayes is with Yuruka and Sania when an automaton named El Fajula reveals that she's activated the ruins, and they will be able to leave soon. After Yuruka leaves, Sania questions if they can really trust her, and Hayes assures her that Yuruka is just a tool. She then places her hand on a crystal ball and smirks like a villain. Later, Lux and Ayuri are called to the conference room, where the nobles inform them of Bar's plan to revive the old empire. According to their info, the attack will be carried out after the all-dragon battle, and there are nearly 100 abyss monsters hiding in nearby villages. Lux's task is to act as bait and lure these abyss out of hiding so the new empire forces can destroy them before the attack. Hearing this, Ayuri becomes anxious because the task is way too dangerous. But Minister Nelf reminds them of the destruction they caused at the island and promises to revoke all charges if Lux agrees to help. With no other choice, Lux accepts the task. But he's hit with another one. He must win the all-dragon battle. On the way home, Ayuri gets upset because he accepted their conditions without protest, especially when he can't use Bahamut right now. Lux says someone has to do this, and he will manage even in his current condition. He then puts his coat on Ayuri, apologizing for making her worry, and she rests her head on his shoulder. After returning to the academy, he asks Lysa to make some changes to Wyvern, and she eagerly accepts the job. While he's surveying the changes, he senses Yuruka standing outside, but she vanishes before he can confront her. He follows her to their meeting spot, and she finally shows herself before taking him to the castle wall. As she tries to persuade him to join her cause, Lux asks him why she's serving the old empire even though it no longer exists. She finally reveals she's doing so because she made a promise to her brother, admitting that she has a skill that allows her to sense someone's thirst for blood, which made it easy for her to become an assassin. Even her own father thought of her as a monster, but when he kicked the bucket, Yuruka and her brother inherited the country. Unlike her brother was kind and cared for his people, that is, until Lux's father destroyed their country and took him hostage so he could use Yuruka's powers to do his dirty work. Her brother has been dead for a while, but her loyalty to him is the reason she still serves the old empire, and she has to overthrow the new empire to complete her contract. She then asks Lux what he plans to do with this new empire, and Lux refuses to destroy it. Before he can say further, she tells him to be careful tomorrow and leaves. The next day, the 4-day all-dragon battle starts, with the first day only holding solo matches. Tilfer, Sheris, and Nobuko lose their opening matches, but Ayuri is certain that Celis, Krolsifer, and Filthy have this in the bag. At the same time, Lux is fighting his first match, and despite being injured, he manages to win via timeout. Krolsifer senses that something is wrong because Lux did not use a single the entire match, and Ayuri chooses not to tell her. Afterward, Ayuri goes to check up on Lux, but he assures her that he's fine and she should tell others the truth if he does not return for group battles. That evening, it's Lysa's turn to win for the knights, but she somehow loses control of Tiamat and starts firing at the audience. Luckily, the barrier protects the civilians, and Krolsifer quickly restrains Tiamat before things escalate, but this event leaves a scar on Lysa's reputation. Meanwhile, Lux is on his mission when he runs into Sania, who uses a flute to ambush him. However, Lux lures the enemy to the border, which allows the Empire forces to destroy them. Back in the city, Lysa is put behind bars while an investigation takes place, and Ayuri decides to tell everything to the other cadets. Celis wants to go after Lux, but Ayuri says they must win the all-dragon battle, or this would be for nothing. Filthy starts to blame herself for this situation, but Ayuri assures her that it's Lux's own persistence to protect others that led to this. They also discuss how Lysa lost control of Tiamat earlier, and only Yuruka is known to have such power, so Krolsifer insists they capture her before she does more damage. Later, while Lux is resting at the army camp, he suddenly hears firing and rushes outside to see a full-blown attack on the camp. A wounded soldier tells him that the rebels suddenly ambushed them, and their next target is the main city. There, the girls fail to find Yuruka, only to learn that the tournament has been suspended due to an emergency because the enemy has broken through the northwest border. At the border, Lux engages with the enemy troops and runs into Barth, who proudly declares himself the mastermind behind the attack and reveals his intentions to become the new emperor. However, Lux questions his integrity because he's joining forces with the troops of rival nations, who are using him as a tool. Despite this, Barth is blinded by power and vows to punish everyone who mocks him, but Lux refuses to let that happen and engages him in battle. As they clash, Barth tells Lux that a calamity, even bigger than the Ragnarok, is approaching the capital, and no one will be able to stop it. Just then, Lux sees a giant mess approaching the border, and Barth reveals it to be the fifth ruin called the Giant Warrior. Controlled by Elfajula, the giant seems invincible to normal drag knights, and Lux decides to summon Behemoth despite his condition. As he charges towards the giant, Barth and his rebels chase after him and manage to surround him from all four sides. Barth also knows that Lux can only operate Bahamut for a few minutes, so he fights Lux head-on to exhaust him. He then manages to slice off one of Bahamut's arms, only to learn that it was Wyvern painted as Bahamut all along. Once Lux confirms this, Barth gets pissed and charges him recklessly, allowing Lux to take him down. Meanwhile, the city witnesses its very own rumbling as the giant approaches their walls, and Lux uses comms to inform Riri that he's fine. Subsequently, Sania unlocks Lysha's cell and shows her the giant approaching the city. Inside the giant, Hayes tells Elfajula to fire cannons, and Lysha realizes that her country is minutes away from becoming a wasteland. Sania says the only way to prevent disaster is if Lysha hands over the throne to Hayes, but Lysha rushes because she's got the power of God and anime by her side. Hearing this, Sania tells her to show what she's hiding on her belly and sends two of her men to diddle her. At that moment, Lysha calls out for Lux, who slices the wall open and rescues the princess, prompting Sania to run away. Lysha tells him what happened during her fight, believing that her people must hate her now. She breaks down in tears as she realizes that she's ruined everything Lux has been doing all this time, but Lux brings her sword and assures her that they will find a way to fix it. He then asks her to join him in protecting this country, and Lysha finally snaps out of it. Meanwhile, Krulsifer is keeping the giant busy with her Fafnir, and Filthy tries to bring it down with her skill. However, their efforts seem futile, as Hayes watches from the inside with a cynical look on her face. Just then, Lysha appears and covers the whole arena with her skill called the Heavenly Voice, which makes the giant submerge into the ground. She declares that she won't hand over her country to anyone, but Hayes tells her she's not strong enough as the giant slowly escapes Lysha's grasp. That's when Lux holds her hand, stating that he will strengthen both their skills using overdrive. He then activates his skill, Reload on Fire, and Lysha merges her Heavenly Voice with it to create a new attack called Spray Shot. This weakens the giant to the point that Filthy tumbles it over, and Krulsifer quickly uses her freezing cannon to lock it in place. With the giant immovable, Lux asks Krulsifer and Filthy to fight the rebels in the city while he and Lysha stay here to deal with the giant. After they split, Lysha blushes as she tells Lux she's always at ease around him, but he quickly moves away, right before a massive attack splits the city in half. Turning around, they see Hayes and her Divine Drag Knight, grinning like a villain. Inside the city, while Krulsifer and Filthy are fighting the rebels, Sanaya approaches the conference hall to put an end to the four great nobles. However, Celis shows up looking like a final boss, and promises to make amends for the last time she let Sanaya go. Meanwhile, Hayes goes haywire on Lysha, telling her that she will crush this country altogether. She then notices that Bahamut is missing, but before she can locate it, Lysha fires a laser cannon at her. As they continue their battle, Lux looks for an entrance to the giant but spots a bed of red flowers, where Yuruka is waiting for him. She feels sad that he didn't accept his offer, but Lux says he will fight her to save her from herself. As they clash, he asks again why she adheres to the former empire, and she says she's bound by a contract. Lux asks her why her brother was unalived if she was so loyal, and she admits that he was not offed by the empire. She then reveals that during a siege, she was taken in exchange for her brother's life, but the senior officers of her country unalived him to please the new empire. Despite this, Yuruka feels bound to serve the old empire, but Lux says she doesn't have to, pointing at Lysha, who carries the old empire's crest, yet opposes their rule in favor of the new empire. However, Yuruka gets tired of his TED talk and suddenly attacks him, explaining that her skill allows her to find gaps in consciousness and use them for a guaranteed hit attack. Lux counters this by telling her that he destroyed the old empire to save Ayuri, and similar to him, Yuruka's brother never wanted her to become the empire's tool. These words resonate with Yuruka, and she allows Lux to defeat her with a single blow. As she lies down, she realizes there's still some humanity left in her. Lux tells her he has already destroyed a country to fix the problems, but it has not worked, and he doesn't want her to repeat the same mistake. Just then, Elfajula reboots the giant system to get it moving again, so Lux rushes to it and saves Lysha from Hayes' deadly attacks. He tells her he has a few minutes left before Bahamut runs out of juice, which means they have to wrap this quickly. Just then, the giant prepares to fire a deadly attack towards the city, but when all hope seems lost, Yuruka shows up and destroys the core. Now betrayed, Hayes decides to destroy the country herself, but when Lysa tries to attack her, she knocks Lysa out of Tiamat. Luckily, Lux appears behind Hayes and takes her down with a final attack right before saving Lysa from fall damage. A few days later, Lysa addresses her people as the new queen and introduces Lux as her knight. When she says he's the former prince, people get skeptical, but Lux holds Lysa's hand, giving her the strength to continue. She then explains that she won't let anyone be slaves of the past, and everyone deserves a fair chance to learn from their mistakes. This resonates with the audience, and everyone accepts her as the queen, with Lux as her knight. Later, Lux praises Lysa for keeping it together, but just then, he spots Fuggle among the nobles, which shifts his mood. Grabbing his black sword, he vows to protect his country, right as Fugil leaves the ball. Lysa then goes all red and says they must deepen their friendship now that he's her knight, but Krolsifer, Celis, and Filthy suddenly show up to call dibs on him. Yuruka joins them too and offers to let him crack it, promising that she'll assist him in rebuilding this new country. Now surrounded by thirsty shawties, Lux starts to panic like a virgin, and when Lysa demands to know whom he loves the most, Bro runs out of there faster than your dad did when you were born. That's it for this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed and watch this video on screen.